Yo, what's happening, Raider Nation? It's your boy Soto here. You know what it is, Raiders versus the world. Talk about a team that the world loves to hate, your Las Vegas Raiders. So, 3 weeks into the season, and I don't think that I'm overstepping by saying there seems to be a bit of a power struggle brewing in Raider Nation. And if you really take a close look at how questions are answered, you can really see the divide. And what I'm talking about is the running game with the Raiders and Ashton Genty. And the two sides are the offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly and the head coach in Pete Carroll. I don't know that those two are aligned because their answers to questions during press conferences and the play on the field doesn't jive, and it's not all pulling in the same direction. We're going to get a look at a lot of different things that people have said about Ashton Genty, about the Raiders, the offense, the blocking, the schemes, the game plans, all that stuff. We're going to get to a bunch of stuff to back up why I'm a little bit concerned right now. I'm not saying this is a full forced 100% thing, but it just doesn't pass the smell test. If you guys saw my video with the Chip Kelly press conference on the offensive side of the ball as far as what the game plan is going into the week against the Commanders, you knew that I was looking at it a little bit of a side eye, that it looked and smelled a little fishy. His answers really didn't match up to what the questions that were being asked, and also what I think Pete Carroll and all of Raider Nation and Ashton Genty really wants to see on the field. Just doesn't mesh. And some of the answers don't match up. And I'm going to give you guys stats too. So we're going to look at a bunch of different things. First, I want to take a look at the Rich Eisen show. Rich Eisen talking about Ashton Genty's usage and his potential for a breakout.
You know, when we're talking about the Raiders, because you're seeing what Omarion Hampton just did in Los Angeles, where it's like, hey, we can't just, with Najee Harris out, we can't just sit here and make sure that we're not running the wheels off of this guy. We got to ease him in. Screw it. Here's Omarion Hampton. Oh, here's 229 scrimmage yards and a rushing touchdown. Well, by the way, with an offensive line that's banged up. He did it. Cam Scatterbo in New York / New Jersey. See, I added that for you, Bills fans.
Running dudes over.
You know what I mean? And Ashton Genty, we're waiting. We're waiting. And again, this is potentially fantasy related because he did have 60-plus rush yards.
Yeah, a couple nice runs.
And he had a couple nice runs. But when Geno Smith can't throw it, because the minute he fades back to pass, there's somebody in his lap. You need somebody to run it to take that pressure off. And the offensive line wasn't blocking for him either. There was a couple times he was wearing Von Miller or wearing Bobby Wagner instead of his uniform.
All right, so Rich Eisen is echoing a lot of things that we've all been saying. Yeah, I get it. You want to ease him into the season and not give him too much work right away, but ultimately, he's your best chance to win. Getting Ashton Genty rolling is the Raiders' best chance to have an offense that really works. Geno Smith is best off of play action and misdirection, and you can't do that if you don't run the ball. Even week one, when we weren't running the ball effectively, we were still using the run, and it was setting up our pass. We got away from it in week two. I didn't like the explanation as to why from Chip Kelly. I thought it was a little bit hollow, and it just seems like he's being stubborn, okay? And I'm not absolving Brendan Carroll. He's a whole other part of this power struggle, okay? Because Pete Carroll can totally say, hey, Chip Kelly, we need to run the ball more because our offense works its best when it's balanced. So you need to run the ball more. And then Chip Kelly could say, well, you know what? Your son sucks as an offensive line coach. Look at the stats for the offensive line. They're playing very poorly. They're playing worse than they played last season. And the major difference is your son as the offensive line coach. So if you want to look at anybody, look at your son as to why we're not running the ball more. If you want to take a look at someone who actually called the game, Mark Schlereth was on the Rich Eisen show, and here's what he had to say about the offensive line and Ashton Genty against the Commanders.
Your level of concern for Ashton Genty.
My concern level for him as a player, when I hear people say, oh, he doesn't have it or he's not the guy, that's foolishness.
Okay.
That kid is I think I've heard you say it before in regards to Mo Jones-Drew, a bowling ball of butcher knives. Like, he is going to be a really good player. I think one of the things you have to understand is for running back is it's more than just knowing what you're supposed to do. It's knowing what the defense is doing. What is the strength of the defense? What is the weakness of the defense? And how do I adjust based on those things pre-snap? Now, the concern is the Raiders couldn't block their way out of a wet pepper sack. Like, their offensive line was awful. It was purely awful in this. So the combination of not being able to block anybody and then Ashton learning exactly what he is supposed to do, that's a bad combination right off the start. And I thought the right side of their offensive line with their right tackle and their right guard was just subpar at best. I mean, that's probably an insult to subpar things, but they were subpar at best.
Well, Mark Schlereth said it. He played the position for quite a few years in the NFL and was very successful. He also was in the production meetings with both coaches on both sides, and he called the game. And what he saw was what everyone else saw. The offensive line was awful. He's putting it squarely on them. He also gave a little bit of the growing pains to Ashton Genty. It's kind of like what I said in yesterday's video. You have Ashton Genty going through the growing pains of being a rookie running back. Then you have Ashton Genty having to deal with the growing pains of a young offensive line. Then you have an offensive line having to deal with the growing pains of a first-time offensive line coach. That's rough. That's a lot of growing pains, okay? And all those growing pains roll down. The new offensive line coach, the young offensive line who's maybe not as sure or as talented or equipped to do what the offensive line coach is asking him to do, rolling down into Ashton Genty, who's also having his own struggles, like Stink said, about reading the defense and knowing what to do and having to work off of what the play calls plus off of what the defense is giving him. That's a lot to put on Ashton Genty. Who's pointing at who? Whose fault is it? What's going on here? Because, again, it can very easily be, well, we're not running the ball because we're not effective at it. Okay, well, I need you to run the ball more so we can be more effective as an offense. Well, your son's the offensive line coach and he stinks. The offensive line stinks. I can't run the ball if we're getting, negative 2 yards before contact on average. It's a rough situation, man. And it's not going to get any easier unless this improves. If we continue to get this same type of production from the offensive line and the running game in turn, or maybe even just a nominal improvement, it's not going to go away. This is going to be something that's going to be underlying the entire season. And it was one of the concerns that everyone, I think, had with hiring Chip Kelly as an offensive coordinator when he had head coaching experience. How long is he going to want to be an OC? Is he going to want to be a head coach again? Is he going to want to be a head coach of the Raiders? Who knows? But the power struggle is brewing. So we've taken a listen to what Rich Eisen had to say about the Raiders needing to have a big game coming up against the Bears by Ashton Genty. Forget easing somebody in. Forget ramping somebody up. You saw Omarion Hampton get a bunch of touches and over 200 plus yards and a touchdown in overall yard. You saw Cam Scadaboo get a bunch of carries and make a big difference offensively for the Giants. Where's Genty's game going to come? They're not easing those two guys into the game. They're giving those two guys the ball as rookies to go straight ahead and be one of those bell cow guys, what they were drafted to be. To get a little bit more context on what's happening with this run game and how it's affecting Ashton Genty, let's take another listen to the guys at the PFF and see what they had to say.
For not going with an offensive lineman is they were pretty good last year. They weren't the best offensive line. They weren't a top 10 offensive line, but they were getting better. They were taking steps towards being a good offensive line with some young pieces there that you could have expected to take another step this season, and the Raiders just naturally being better on the offensive line. That has not happened, specifically in run blocking. This is one of the least effective run blocking units in the NFL. Genty had 17 carries for 63 rushing yards in this game. He had 1 yard before contact in this game. 1. He has negative 2 yards before contact on the season, which is 29th out of 30 eligible running backs when you get, I think the minimum snap count is 50 or something for running backs. The offensive line is not doing Genty any favors at all whatsoever. Right. And I think that we need to remember that when we're criticizing Ashton Genty, that even the best backs out there is only so much they can do.
I mean, they said it. Look, it's really bad when everybody is saying the exact same thing, and you can't point your finger at what the fix is, because we know that Geno Smith and this offense runs better when you run the football. What do we also know? Ashton Genty is a very talented back and can do good things for you if you block properly for him. We also know that they're not being blocked properly for it. And you put all that stuff together, and it's just cyclical. It's going to keep going on in circles. It's like everyone just, it's a big old circle jerk. Everyone just running around in circles saying this person's fault, that person's fault, that person's fault. But that's what they're saying behind the scenes, and that's what they think. But no one can really say it out loud in the Raiders organization. And it's really tough to put your finger on something and say, yeah, this is the main issue, and have it pointed the finger somewhere else and not look selfish and not look like you're passing the buck and not look like you're blaming. You can't do that in the NFL because everyone gives so much of themselves. The coaches with their time and effort, and then the players with their effort and their bodies. So it's like, where do you go from here? What's really tough is you get asked these questions as a coach, and you come up with answers like this. Let's listen to Chip Kelly last week when he talked about the run game against the Chargers before they played the Commanders. Listen to this.
When you look at the film, just from a run blocking standpoint, what do you think you guys can clean up on?
Yeah, I mean, it's every play has its own individual entity to it. So on this play, all five guys blocked it right. Ashton hits it. The second play of the game, they blitzed off the front side edge, and we blocked it up perfect. Ashton got to 12-yard gain, ran through the safety. Unblocked player was the safety and ran through him and made a play. So I think you have to look at the individual plays. Sometimes it's a one-person breakdown. Did they step with the right foot? Did they get their hand placement in the right spot? It's a combination of all of those things when you take a look at it. But I think in the game, from a run standpoint, I think what people have to realize is we were down 17-6 at half. Our first drive of the second half was a 20-play drive, and we came away with 3 because we had a penalty in the red zone. But then after that, we were in 2-minute mode, so we didn't run the ball as much as we did the week before. The week before, we were up, so we ran the ball more. So usually when you're up in the second half, you're running the ball more because you're running clock. If you're down, you're throwing the ball more. So when you look at the run-pass breakdowns by game, it's really what is the situation that presents itself.
So basically, if you want to read between the lines, Chip Kelly is not taking any responsibility for the lack of run game. He's just saying it's all individual basis, man. If they don't block it, it doesn't work. And I'm not going to call it anymore. That's really tough to swallow, man. That's a tough one. That's a tough pill to swallow, because right there you see Chip Kelly pointing the finger directly at the execution of the offensive line and Brennan Carroll. I don't know how else to take that, because when he's asked about, hey, when it was blocked properly, Ashton Genty hit it. When it's not blocked properly, we don't get the yardage. We got into the red zone. Well, we got a penalty. Guess what the penalty was on? On the offensive line. That's a finger pointing without finger pointing, right? And if you guys didn't catch it right away, that's what it is. I'm letting you know right now. And this is part of the whole laying the blocks of the power struggle, man, laying the foundation of the power struggle. Like, what's happening here? Whose fault is it? Why are we not running the ball more? Well, we're not effective. And then we got behind and this and that. And yeah, man, it's just a lot of passing the buck right now without looking like they're passing the buck. It's very expertly done, I will say. But let's listen to what Pete Carroll had to say about the run game.
It's the third game where the offensive line has kind of struggled. And what do you chalk that up to, and what kind of solutions can there be out there?
Well, we have to, it turns us back to we got to balance out what we're doing so we can mix better. And we didn't run the football at all early. And then when we did, we drove the football and we made our scores. So once we got going, I thought Ashton did a really good job with his opportunities. He got a lot of carries today. It was a good ball game for him. It was tough, and he played tough and showed you how he does it. But we didn't start out well at all. We came out of the chutes, hurting. And so until we got going, you couldn't see much. But we do have to mix better so that we feel the run and the pass mix that gives us an advantage instead of feeling like we're getting knocked around.
Okay, there's a finger point from Pete Carroll at Chip Kelly. We need to be more balanced. We need to run the ball more. We started off like crap because we weren't running the ball. We started off slow because we weren't running the ball. That's what he's saying. We have to be more balanced. He said it 2 times in that statement. We need to be more balanced. We need to run the ball more. I don't want to hear your excuses. We need to run the ball more. Then you go back to Chip Kelly, and he says, well, when it was blocked, we did good. When it wasn't blocked right, we didn't do good. And guess who teaches them how to block? Your son. Whew. This is getting a little sticky, man. This is getting a little sticky. And there's one more little sticking point because Jackson Powers Johnson didn't play. And he was good to go. He was clear concussion protocol, and he was good to go. He practiced. He still didn't play. Whose call was that? Was that Chip Kelly's call? Was it Brennan Carroll's call? Was it Pete Carroll's call? I don't know, guys. Let's listen to Pete Carroll talk about it, and you tell me what you think.
Jackson got back to practice yesterday. Is that a full go on Sunday?
It looks, yeah, he made it through today, and yesterday was fine, so he is a full go for the game.
Can't be much clearer than that. That was before the game. I believe that was Friday. He practiced. He's full go for the game. Didn't play. Not one snap. What are we doing here? Whose call was that? Why didn't we put him in the game? Who knows? That's very eerie. It's very freaky. You say the head coach is telling you, yeah, this guy's 100% good to go. And there was a decision made where he didn't play at all. What happened? He was dressed. He could have played, but he didn't. Was it Chip Kelly's call? Was it Brennan Carroll? I find it hard to believe that Brennan Carroll and Pete Carroll aren't on the same page with this. Could have been a Chip Kelly call. Who knows? But this is what Pete Carroll had to say the day after the game in his press conference about Jackson Powers Johnson and the offensive line.
So the offensive line, you looking at any potential changes, or are you going to go with what you have?
We're working on some stuff. We want to see JPJ come back to action and get back involved. We have to, in all phases of it, we got to get off the football better and make more of the running game. There's not enough happening there to act on the play pass game, and we're just not getting enough. So we just got to keep working it. We got the guys we got, and there's, and we need to keep developing and keep building on it.
Ooh, okay, it is the second time now where he's like, yo, Jackson Powers Johnson needs to be in the game. And I don't know whether Pete's not trying to pull rank or something or step on Chip Kelly's toes, or I don't know what's going on. But normally when a head coach tells you that a starter is 100% good to go and he doesn't play a snap even though he dresses, then the very next day in the press conference after the game, he's like, yeah, we want to get him in the game because we need to be more physical up front. It sounds like a lot of contrasting things happen, a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different philosophies. Pete Carroll sounds like a guy I don't care what the score is. Our best chance to make big plays happen is to be a balanced team. Whereas Chip Kelly's like, well, if we're down, we got to throw a bunch more and not even worry about the run. Plus, our running game isn't that great because your son is not a very good offensive line coach. He said as much. We're not running the ball as much because when it's not blocked properly, we don't gain yards. Oh, man. Keep an eye on this, man. You guys know I'm not a guy to stir up a bunch of drama where it's not there. But you can see it. It's right there. These guys have 2 different philosophies on how to run an offense, and each of them are pointing the finger at one another. And this can get sticky. This can get ugly. Definitely the brewing, the beginning parts of a germination of a power struggle in the future should the team not get on the winning wave. All right, guys, that's my time for today. Really appreciate you guys watching. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to this video. It's an excellent way to support the channel. It's absolutely free. And it's the bare minimum you can do to support the channel besides doing lunches and watching the video. On top of that, we have the Shield Society. What is the Shield Society? Shield Society is a membership. It's only $5 a month. You get a lot of cool perks. You get the videos right away. Don't have to wait for them to be scheduled. Even though I schedule for a later time and date, you get them right away. On top of that, you get the watch party with me, get my analysis, my takes, hear me vent, hear me cheer, all that stuff. You guys can do the exact same thing on the show yourselves. I put the link in the comments. You guys can jump on whenever you want, give a comment, give your analysis, just say what's up to the boys. It's just us. I'm not releasing it to anybody else, so you don't have to worry about anyone else seeing this. It's just the boys watching the game, kicking it, Raider Nation with the Shield Society. If you want to do it, great. It's only $5 a month. If you don't want to do it or you can't, that's fine too. I'm still going to give you a video every single day. One more thing, guys, you need to do for me. Please tell your friends, tell your haters, tell your mamas, tell everybody. Raiders versus the world is the greatest thing going in Raider Nation today. All right, guys, that's my time. Till next time, everybody. Peace. Hey, Raider Nation. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more where that came from. Go ahead and smash that like button. Drop a comment. Make sure to subscribe and share to all your socials. It's the bare minimum you can do without doing absolutely nothing.